All right. Oh God. Welcome back, everyone. So E3 is finally over. It's done with. That means we get to rest. That also means we get to watch like trailers 1,500 times in a row. And if you're somebody who makes videos on YouTube, I mean, E3 takes it all out of you. It does some work on you physically and emotionally, and but it's also an exciting time because you're super excited about everything. So if you're a gamer, I mean, E3 is an essential aspect of what you do every single year. And of course, what's more important in terms of what happens after E3 than a top 10 list? I thought my top 10 before list was tough. Turns out that this one's harder. I thought that maybe because we saw gameplay, we have a better idea of the details of the game and what games actually are now, so we could kind of like be like, okay, I'm more excited about these certain gameplay mechanics or this story or something like that. But it turns out no. Turns out I'm excited about way too many games. Way too many. So again, if your game or if your list doesn't look like mine, if somehow a game that you're really excited about didn't make my top 10, doesn't mean I'm not excited about it. It just means that this is how, lists go. Certain things have to be in the top 10 and certain things don't. Okay, so again, put your list in the comments and we could kind of like compare and contrast and see like what made the list, what did really well, what went up a ton of spots, what wasn't on the list and now is on the list, what isn't on the list anymore, and have a spat about it. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And of course, coming in at number 10, we have a game that has a very intriguing story and is probably going to pull you through the whole entire experience. It's an open world game and it looks fantastic. So coming in at number 10, we have Mafia 3.
All I really want is for everything to go back the way that it was before that night.
I really like the idea of being able to play this African-American protagonist coming back home from Vietnam during a time where the war wasn't really that popular, dealing with PTSD issues, being a trained soldier, this revenge story, the fact that the city where he grew up in is being taken over in a hostile way by a large organization, and the fact that you're let loose in this open world environment that's very much influenced by New Orleans during a time period that wasn't necessarily friendly towards minorities, towards black people, and it's just, you have all of these aspects of the game that create an intriguing story, and that's just the premise alone. I can't wait to see what the performances are. I can't wait to see how the story unfolds. I like the idea of being able to take out an organization through hideouts and one step at a time, take them out at their legs, then at their hip, then at the arms, and then at the head. And seeing that type of progression in taking out a large mafia organization like that. And it doesn't hurt that the gameplay and the driving and all of that stuff looks arcadey, looks fun, looks visceral, looks meaty. And that creates a game, that creates an experience that's going to have a whole lot to do and that's going to have an engaging story during a time period that needs a lot more attention. And I personally can't wait to play it. So that's why I put it at my number 10.
Did you help Lincoln Clay murder Sal Marcano and all prominent members of his crime family?
Coming in at number 9, we have a game that was rumored to be in development by somebody. We didn't know who the hell it was, but it was one of the major surprises of the Sony press conference. And of course, I'm talking about Spider-Man.
People see me and think they're safer. But it's not really me they're seeing. Probably for the best. Knowing everything hinges on a guy from Queens sounds as scary as it feels. No pressure, right?
The thing that really excites me about this game is that it's being made by Insomniac, which not only has already current-gen technology up and running, but it also made open-world environments that encourage movement in a lot of very specific and creative ways, and you can apply all of that to Spider-Man, and the fact that we saw a trailer with some gameplay footage as well, and it looks like it's being given that AAA, big-budget treatment, not only in terms of its graphics, its production value, but also in terms of the details around the world. And we're going to get a brand new Peter Parker with a brand new suit and a brand new thing that's not tied into a movie, which is very often the case with a lot of superhero films. and they're able to finally breathe and just focus on creating a very unique Spider-Man story, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited that we're finally going to be getting a game that can match something of the quality like Batman Arkham games, and that's extremely exciting to me, you know, because not only can that mean that we're going to get a great Spider-Man game, but Marvel can now look at all of its characters and be like, you know what, let's give it to really popular studios, really creative and talented studios, and see what they can do with all of our other characters, and see what interesting and creative stories we can pull off inside video games. And that's exciting to me, and that should be exciting to you as well. Moving down a spot, at number 8, we have Final Fantasy 15.
We were once a nation of hope. A beacon of light in a world of chaos. But now, we are broken.
You know, we have seen and played a whole lot of this game already, and my excitement and my anticipation level is at an all-time high, knowing that it's right around the corner, knowing that it's a proper Final Fantasy game that has environments like this. I mean, just look at that. Being able to explore something like that is just mind-boggling to me. It just gives me confidence that Final Fantasy 15 will be the proper experience that we expect from the franchise, that we expect from the series, especially after 10 years since Versus 13. And I'm just ecstatic whenever I see footage of the game, in terms of its landscapes, in terms of its performance, in terms of just its scale, its architecture, its design. It just gives me the feeling that I'm going to be able to explore a Final Fantasy environment that is unlike any other game I've ever really seen or played before. And it just really has me on a certain level of I can't wait to play it. So coming in at number 8 is Final Fantasy 15.
You are the key to our redemption.
Moving up 2 spots, we have a game that is trying to fight the trend of these first-person multiplayer futuristic shooters, and instead go back in time into a war that's never really explored before in video games. So we have, coming in at number 7, Battlefield 1. Battlefield 1 is one of those games that gets revealed where you're just completely sold as soon as you start hearing details from the single-player campaign that's supposedly telling these different stories from different perspectives all around the world in that World War I setting. Is that much more exciting, even though, you know, Battlefield has never really been good about their single-player campaigns in terms of their writing, story, characters. I mean, just name it. It's been lacking and hasn't really matched to the multiplayer experience that well, but I think this time it's tailor-made towards creating a bite-sized little experiences that can definitely match something like the multiplayer in terms of how robust, in terms of how engaging it is, and how chaotic it is as well when you have those big multiplayer maps, you know, also in the single-player campaign and not just in the multiplayer. Definitely going non-linear in terms of its single-player campaign might actually help it. And what we saw during E3 in terms of the multiplayer stuff looks fantastic, looks chaotic, looks visceral, looks like it's definitely setting up for a meaty multiplayer experience. The World War I setting helps it that much more, though. I gotta reiterate that choosing that setting just makes everything look different, look unique, and I can't reiterate that enough, how important that is to me. Creating something that feels fresh, even though it's using the same mechanics, but just changing little things here and there is so important to me. And being able to visually see something like that is going to be crazy in and of itself. So, Battlefield 1 coming in at number 7. Staying in the exact same spot it was in my before E3 list, we have Mass Effect Andromeda.
With Mass Effect, we are going further than ever before. To Andromeda, to build a new home for humanity.
Like many of you, I was disappointed that we didn't get a full-on gameplay demo at E3. It just tells me that this game is that much further out in terms of when it releases, but it also shows me that BioWare is taking this title extremely seriously in terms of meeting their initial expectations for it, meeting their ambition for it as well. And I believe that they're going to take that Western RPG format and just take it to a whole nother level. Make it bigger, make it more vast, make the story that much more emotional, make those Western RPG elements just that much more engrossing, and the gameplay loop that much more addicting. And I just personally can't wait to get my hands on Mass Effect. You know, we did see a few gameplay clips at E3, but it just wasn't enough to really kind of tell what the game's going to feel like. It just really told me what the graphics are going to look like, and goddamn, that game looks gorgeous. That Frostbite engine is just on a whole nother level, and I just can't wait to finally see that game running at 30 frames per second in that massive exploratory kind of mode that it's always in. And I just really want to see what the scale of a Mass Effect Andromeda running on Frostbite only on current gen is going to really feel like and play like. So Mass Effect Andromeda coming in at number 6. Moving up 3 spots, we have a game that impressed the hell out of me at Bethesda's press conference. Coming in at number 5, we have Dishonored 2. Games automatically get extra points from me when I feel like I'm exploring an environment that I never really explored before in any other video game, and that's what they're doing with Dishonored 2. They're taking the core stealth mechanics that they introduced in Dishonored 1, which is critically acclaimed across the board, probably one of the best of all time in terms of stealth combat, and just taking it to a next level in terms of your options, in terms of being able to tackle a situation the way you see fit, in terms of having this open world that looks so unique. The character designs look so great, the AI looks like it's responsive and looks like it's actually encouraging you to maneuver your way through an environment in a certain specific type of format. And I just personally can't wait to get my hands on that. The gameplay demo that they showed off at Bethesda's press conference, for a lot of people, felt like a little dull, but for me, I was completely engrossed that whole entire time. Every single 30 seconds I was like, yes, that is exactly what I want out of Dishonored 2. And just the fact that the lighting and the world looks so great, I can't wait to finally immerse myself in the world of Dishonored 2. So that's why I place it at number 5. Oh man, look, coming in at number 4, we have a game that is trying to reinvent itself in terms of the way it looks, in terms of the way it feels. God of War.
I am hungry. Feed us.
What are we hunting?
You are hunting deer.
Which way?
Your hunt. You tell me.
From the moment the gameplay demo begins, you know you're going to be in for a different kind of God of War this time around. It's not only the camera perspective that's a lot closer, more emotional, resembling The Last of Us, but definitely the buddy AI dynamic where you, Kratos, are teaching your son how to hunt. And that very simple dynamic in storytelling just tells you everything you need to know about this God of War, not only in terms of its narrative, but also in terms of its gameplay. You have a person that you need to worry about every time you are in a combat sequence, and the chaos that is a God of War combat sequence, but they've somehow made it a lot more visceral and a lot more emotional and a lot more just grounded. Makes you seem like you actually have to worry about that kid every time you encounter any sort of danger inside that world. And I like the fact that the gameplay demo shows you various different areas you could actually explore, shows you various different ways you can get and traverse around the world, and that's interesting to me. Having a Tomb Raider-like open world environment that has multiple levels but they're all connected is essential to creating a God of War that seems to be attracting some RPG elements. So I'm excited to see where God of War is taken. I'm excited to see maybe some more gameplay footage at PSX, which is a long ways away, But you know, if this gameplay demo is so good that I'm so ecstatic to have them just take their time and make the game as ambitious as they could possibly make it. It's not a surprise that Sony Santa Monica has created a beautiful game, but it's definitely a surprise to me that they created a game that resembles so much emotion and so much just feelings towards the player that I just can't. They just nailed it. Simply put, God of War wasn't on my top 10 list before and is at number 4. It just tells you everything you need to know about how great that demo was. God of War comes in at number 4.
A new beginning.
Yep, moving up one spot with a little trailer and a proper release date. Finally, we have The Last Guardian. The Last Guardian is a game that's been around for so long that studios like Naughty Dog have been able to ship 3 or 4 games in that time span. It's sad, the fact that the dev cycle has taken this long. It obviously wasn't the intention, but the fact that the game still looks this good, the fact that the game still feels this emotional, the fact that this game is actually a reality and it's coming out in October is just amazing to me. And what's even more amazing is that my patience hasn't worn thin. I'm still so excited for this game. I can't wait to play it. It obviously comes from the people who worked on Shadow of the Colossus, which is one of my favorite games of all time. They use core gameplay mechanics and make you feel something emotional with them. And that's exactly what this game is going to try to do. They're not going to introduce any specific dialogue that makes you emotional, like a specific narrative scene. They are going to do it with gameplay. They're going to do it with repetition, making you do something over and over and over again until you suddenly question as to why you're doing the things you're doing. And that's what Team Ico does so well. That's what Shadow of the Colossus did so well. Ueda is just, I can't wait to play his game and see what he created with this bird dog thing. And I just know, I have a real strong feeling that I'm going to cry at the end of it. So that's why, I mean, this is what you play games for, to feel something. So The Last Guardian, I just had to put it at number 3. Yeah, so this was probably the toughest decision I had to make in terms of the list, deciding who goes number 1 and who goes number 2, because I have 2 really, really strong games that have so much potential, games that look great, and all the gameplay stuff I've seen, narratives that feel like they're going to bring something emotional and captivating, but I had to choose one, and there was one that I just couldn't stop thinking about. So coming in at number 2, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Open your eyes.
So obviously Nintendo went all in with Zelda at the E3. It was the only game they showcased, and if this was any other company, any other publisher, they would have been crucified if they pulled the same kind of stuff. But Nintendo is Nintendo. They do what they do, and they showed the right game, and that's what The Legend of Zelda is. It's a right game to show if you only have one. The trailer they released gave off a very mysterious feel, which I love. It obviously, the music, classic Zelda melodies mixed within, but a new rendition of them. The art style, Studio Ghibli meets Nintendo, consistent throughout the whole entire open world, which I love. If I envisioned a Legend of Zelda HD game, that's exactly what the game would look like. It just looks fantastic, both running on the Wii U and the NX. Yeah, the NX will make it look a lot cleaner, but the Wii U looks great as well, and I'm really glad that they decided to focus on this specific art style because it looks great in motion. And the trailer showcased some gameplay stuff as well. And what I saw was a focus on exploration, which is so essential for me with the Zelda game. The very first Legend of Zelda kind of gave off a very, you don't know what's going to be around the next corner feel to it, and that's what I feel with this one. Yeah, it's an open world environment, you could see into the distance, but there's a lot of really just mystery and what's around that next, tree or mountain, or it really gives off that vibe, and I love this game for that so far. The gameplay looks so much more dynamic, so much more freedom. I saw Link jump on a shield and start snowboarding down a hill. I saw just a bunch of dynamic combat. I saw a bunch of traversal in terms of climbing trees and mountains and using trees and physics to kind of move yourself throughout the open world. All of that stuff is so essential to make a Legend of Zelda open world game that I'm so glad they met my expectations and surpassed it in terms of the gameplay. I can't wait to see more dungeons. I can't wait to explore that world. The Legend of Zelda looks like a Game of the Year contender whenever it comes out, and I personally can't wait to play it. So The Legend of Zelda comes in at number 2. No matter how great The Legend of Zelda looked, there was really only one game that I couldn't stop thinking about from a narrative perspective, from a lore perspective, from a gameplay perspective, and it's another open world game, Sony exclusive, and it looks magnificent. That game is Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn is probably one of the most unique concepts for a video game I've ever seen or heard of in my life, where you have these robot dinosaur type things that vary in scale from like medium size to like holy fucking shit, fucking fuck size. And then you have the post-apocalyptic setting, at least that's what they call it. And then you have an open world that looks like that. I mean, we have an interesting female protagonist that probably has an interesting backstory as well, voiced by a very talented and capable voice actress. And then you have a look into the distance and you see that giant thing. I mean, there's a sense of awe and scale and oh my god, look at this open world sense that that is really unmatched, and you can't compare it to anything else. I believe it's Sony's next big franchise because of this. And that's not even factoring in how dynamic and how robust the gameplay feels. I'm just speaking on a narrative and side quests and dialogue choice standpoint. The fact that the world is going to feel that much more deep and the lore is going to feel that much more interesting, and you're going to want to find out more about it. I'm really not even factoring in that beautiful gameplay loop that they showed in the game demo, where you encounter a different kind of machine and you have to use the tools that you have at your disposal to really attack the thing in a certain way. And it's very dynamic. The creatures and the machines feel threatening. They don't feel like they're just any little thing out there. And I'm sure there's a progression system that makes that journey around the world just that much better. And that's what Horizon Zero Dawn is. It's a Western RPG with an interesting story, an interesting premise, a beautiful world, and I really can't stop thinking about it because of it. I just can't stop. It's constantly in my brain. You gotta get out of there. But that's what Horizon Zero Dawn is to me, and that's why it's at number 1. So let me know what you guys think about my list. Of course, there's various games that deserve honorable mentions, and I will go down them right now. At 21, we have Inside. Actually, I'm not going to even do that. Inside, No Man's Sky, Days Gone, Telltale's The Walking Dead Season 3, South Park The Fractured Butthole, Watch Dogs 2, Cuphead, For Honor, Tom Clancy's Wildlands, and these are not in order. I'm just going up and down. Those games deserve my attention. Those games will get my attention, and they are interesting. I'm so excited to play them. Just because they didn't make my top 10 does not mean in any way, shape, or form that I'm not excited for them. Okay? Let me know what you guys think about your top 10. All right, let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it. If you guys disagree with my top 10, then that's exactly what these things are about. That's exactly why we have these little stupid top 10 lists. And I only do them, twice a year, before and after E3, and that's pretty much it. Maybe I'll do more of them. I don't know. If you guys like them, sure. But that's my list. I'm excited for so many games, but Horizon Zero Dawn just had to top the list. Legend of Zelda is literally as close as you can get behind it. But it's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a fun 2017 as well. and we're living in a great time for video games, and I personally can't wait to experience it with all of you. So again, if you hate me, you know what to do. If you like me, you know what to do, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Take a look at that. Take a look at that. I don't even know if you can see it because of the focus, but it looks awesome.
Wow. This is a nice view.
And the environments really help me enjoy and understand what is a very different type of pacing for an Uncharted game. So if you're one of those people that was expecting, I don't know, crazy amounts of combat throughout the whole entire 15-hour experience, then you're going to be getting a different